HubSpot versus HighLevel, the epic showdown. First, the obligatory disclaimer: I'm an affiliate for both. So, take my advice with a grain of salt because obviously I have a dog in this fight. Um, the thing that I think helps kind of make my opinion a little bit more objective: I was a user for both of these software applications before I became a partner. So I didn't just sign up because I wanted to sell software. I've used every marketing automation solution on the planet: Infusionsoft, Entreport, SharpSpring. I mean, you name it. Marketo, Eloqua, Pardot. And this is where we've landed. So I use both of these software applications personally in various businesses that I own. And then I also put my clients on them, just depending on their particular need in the implementation. So my review is from that paradigm. I will say just right out of the gate, if you're an end user, go HubSpot. HighLevel is not built for end users. HighLevel is built for agencies, value-added resellers, people that are going to manage multiple implementations. So the only instance I could ever see an end user needing HighLevel is if you're an end user that has kind of a franchise environment, or sort of a hub and spoke where you've got one entity but it has a lot of branches, and for whatever reason you're going to need a lot of implementation. So if that's the case, HighLevel might be worth pursuing. But if you're just an organization looking for a CRM and marketing automation solution, then I think that HubSpot is going to be the direction to head. And I believe that to be true, when compared to all the HubSpot alternatives too. I looked at quite literally everything. And HubSpot is just, for what it offers, I think it's the best value, which is interesting because it's actually a little more expensive than some other solutions, but it gives you so much more and it's easier to work with. And I'll stop selling HubSpot. Let's dive into the comparison real quick. So HubSpot is, I think, the industry leader. They do a really phenomenal job at content and thought leadership. So one of the first things you're going to get from HubSpot is just it's a level of support and authority that you're not going to get anywhere else. The HubSpot University, all of their training, and it's not just software based. They help you with marketing and content, authority building, those types of things. So realize that HubSpot's just a larger entity, and they're going to have far more firepower when it comes to providing you with some of those elevated services. HighLevel, on the other hand, I love HighLevel. I love their support. I think they do a really good job. They're a small company, you can tell. They're a small organization. I have no idea as to their size, but you get to know people on a first name basis. They do a really good job given their size, but you're not going to get the same ivory tower support approach that you would through HubSpot. A lot of support conversations happen inside of the HighLevel Slack channel or on the HighLevel Facebook page. So it's a little bit more grassroots there. And then I've already made the point about agencies, but with HighLevel, I think the culture of the software is that you're kind of expected to know a little bit more than your average bear. So if you come in completely cold, you will get some support, but the software application is not for newbies at all. You need to understand how to use a CRM, how marketing automation works. And you also need to be the type of temperament that can figure stuff out. Customizing your CSS, that's not a hard thing to figure out. It's 20 minutes on YouTube. And so if you're dropping support tickets or stuff like that, I think that HighLevel is probably not where you belong. I would spend some time in HubSpot. Let's look at pricing first, because that's going to be, I think, a big decision maker for a lot of people. I don't know how HighLevel charges what it charges and still makes money. It's $300 per month, and you get unlimited sub accounts. And I've tested this, by the way. We've got at least 100 sub accounts in our HighLevel account, and that means you could have 100 clients or 1,000 clients. It's as many implementations as you want and need for no additional money. This is insane. It's amazing. So if you were to go through HubSpot or even Infusionsoft or Entreport, every client you bring on has to pay for their own individual app. Now, the client's paying them directly. The client in that instance would pay HubSpot directly, and HubSpot would give you a commission. With HighLevel, you're paying HighLevel, and then you get to charge whatever you want for the software. So this is more of a kind of white label scenario. The only usage costs to consider are the fact that you have to hook up your own email solution and your own SMS/call solution. So we're using Mailgun and Twilio. I think they have other email solution integrations. I think Twilio right now is the only thing that you can use, but the fees are nominal. We've got 100 some odd clients on it, and if I spend $100 a month in Twilio, uh, that's an expensive bill. Now, we also don't use, we're not like a heavy SMS agency either. So that's, worth saying too. But the usage fees tend to be really, really nominal. And the way that HighLevel can get away with charging what they charge is because they're not the ones paying for, kind of the incremental, think of them as like the digital consumables. They push those off to you. But it's still an immense value. If you're interested in building your own continuity model, generating your own recurring revenue, HighLevel is definitely the way to go without even looking at the software, because HubSpot, I think they only pay you out for a year for any referrals that you make. They have these really defined tiers in the HubSpot partner program. It's actually hard to move up in each subsequent tier. And it's not just the amount that you sell, it's also things like, don't quote me on the specifics, but different key performance indicators like your retention, your customer usage, those things. And so it feels a little bit like a moving target. The HubSpot partner network has some really heavy players in it. And I think they're a little spoiled, to be honest with you. They've got some people that have been selling HubSpot for a long time, and so they don't need to really attract new agencies. So if you're a new grassroots agency, HighLevel is going to be much friendlier to you, and I think you're going to be able to make a lot more money. I need to go incognito if I'm going to show you the HubSpot pricing, because they customize their pricing according to user if you're logged in. The HubSpot pricing is broken up by the software application. So you'll see that they've got, here's their marketing hub, the marketing implementation. And it starts at $40, and then the ascension is really well defined. And this is actually, I think, good marketing. You know exactly where it is that you live here. There's no question. But it's also a pretty big jump to go from $40 a month to go to $800 a month. And if we're talking automation, you have to live here. The starter doesn't have the type of automation that you would need in order to actually call it full-on marketing automation. There's some, I think, workflows that can be assigned, but through forms and things like that. But it's not true blue automation. So you'd have to beat the $800 a month, but that's actually not the entire expense to consider, because if you want their pipelines, their sales application, then you'd also have to have this professional version of Sales Hub. So, now we're at $1,200 a month. And then if you want their service tickets, then we're at $320 a month. So all said and done, they'll give you the whole kit and caboodle for $1,300-ish, and that includes the CRM. So what your price ceiling is, but they've broken things up into these four offerings. The website CMS is interesting. We had an agency that was built entirely off of HubSpot. We sold that agency in June of 2019, but the HubSpot engine really helped it go. I mean, it's part of the reason that we were able to make that solution work. And so if you need a fully integrated solution, your CMS, your CRM, your automation, we used it for lead routing, tons of conditional logic. It integrated really well with Google Ads. HubSpot is, let me go big here just for a second. HubSpot is a joy to work with. It's rock solid. So if you build something, it's going to function. And their support's amazing. You can do a lot of really advanced things. It has on some guardrails, which is helpful, but there's some workarounds too. Their workflow builder is top notch. It doesn't have the same multivariant visual drag and drop things that like Infusionsoft or an ActiveCampaign have, but you can do everything that you can do in either of those solutions. You just have to spend a little bit more time building, because it forces you to build separate workflows if you're going to get too complex, which I actually, to be honest with you, I think is better. It saves you from yourself. It saves you from building a big Frankenstein monster that is just unmanageable. So if you're looking for high-end implementation and you just need it to work, think of HubSpot as the Apple of the marketing automation world. This is going to be the more seamless solution. HighLevel is going to take, there's a little bit of Band-Aids and duct tape. And I don't really mean that. I don't want to scare you off. It functions perfectly fine, but there are just some elements to HighLevel that aren't quite as sophisticated as HubSpot, and some things that you need to figure out your own workarounds. You'll notice in HubSpot, here's our HubSpot implementation. Now, I use HubSpot. We own an agency for Montessori schools, and I use HubSpot to manage that entire agency. And I use it for the reasons that I just defined. It's rock solid. It just works. It doesn't require my staff to be insane techno geeks. You'll notice that I've got 245 workflows here, and these are hyper advanced workflows. I'd call myself a top 1% user in the realm of HubSpot automation, and hopefully nobody feels like I'm being arrogant saying that. I just want to give you context as to what we've been able to accomplish here. And you can sort of see, just based off of my nomenclature, this N00 series goes all the way up to 9 or something. We've got a really advanced interdependent workflow that automates all of our onboarding and our customer management on a month-to-month basis using the support ticket system and the support pipelines. So the automation here is rock solid, like I said, and it protects you from yourself. It's really difficult to make logical errors or have recurring feedback loops, those types of things. One thing that's a little frustrating though is they cut things off that they shouldn't cut off. So like I'm not paying for the HubSpot sales package, and so I can't make deal-based automation. And part of me looks at that and I'm like, gosh, I've got the basic sales package and I've got marketing automation, so it stands to reason to me that I should be able to use my marketing automation and then apply that to the basic sales package. You see a lot of that with HubSpot. If you just click around, you'll notice there's just stuff that's locked to you. And it's not doing it here for me, but if I were in a client account, you could see that it's sort of like teasing you, like, oh, you're not paying us enough money to have this. HighLevel is nice because it gives you everything. It's the whole kit and caboodle. I'm not going to click on this drop down because it'll show a bunch of, well, I guess I can blur it out. So this will all be blurred, but you can see all of our client accounts here. And I can have, an unlimited amount of client accounts, which is amazing. Every one of these client accounts can have its own implementation. I can build custom snapshots, so I can have custom implementations. So I could say, like, here's, my high-level implementation for plumbers, and here's my implementation for attorneys, and my implementation for Montessori schools. And then I can clone those. So what's really cool here is if you create a solution for business type, you can now copy that solution and push it out sort of in perpetuity. The automation is really robust. I'm a big fan of what they've done. You need to know what you're doing. Not the same guardrails here as with HubSpot, and you have to sometimes get really creative. So I work a lot with tags. That's where most of my automation lives, actually. But that's true with HubSpot too. I work with contact properties. So with HubSpot, I'm using contact properties more than anything else in order to catalyze automation and to manage automation. I do the same thing with tags in HighLevel, and I did the same thing with Infusionsoft and Entreport. So that's the way that I approach things because I like that it lets you drop in and out of automations without having to follow linear processes. And using forms, for instance, to trigger automation sometimes does that. So instead of using a form to trigger automation, what I would do is I would have the form add the tag and then use the tag to trigger the automation. And what's nice about that is if I ever want to trigger that automation for a customer, I can just go in there and spoof the form by adding the tag to that contact record. So it makes it a little bit more malleable. It also helps you so that if you build out like a 15-step automated sequence and you need to change steps 4 and 14, if you've used tags, that tends to be a lot easier to take things in and out than if you've used a more linear workflow. So the way HighLevel works is you choose your catalyst. You can filter that catalyst. So I can say, okay, when a contact tag is applied, and it's this tag. So they're a new lead, but the source has to be this, has to contain Google. So they're a new lead from Google, just as an example. So it's if this, step 1, then this, step 2. And now we're going to add a tag, add a task, add to a campaign, update an opportunity in the opportunity pipeline. So the HighLevel automation works in this if this, then that scenario. But what's cool is, I'm just going to make this really easy. It's if this, then that, and that. So you can do a bunch of things. So I can add a tag, update the opportunity, send out an email by adding them to a campaign. There's, I create a webhook. We use a lot of Zapier, so the webhooks end up coming in handy. Execute webhook. So the automation here, there's nothing you can't do. And I challenge you on that, actually. I think that this is robust enough to really accomplish just about anything that you're trying to accomplish. But you need to know what you're doing. With HubSpot, compare HubSpot. Let's just go in here and look at a contact-based workflow. Set your enrollment trigger. So you can kind of already see, just having dropped into HubSpot, how much more user-friendly this is. So, I'll use contact properties is known. And now that I have my enrollment trigger, now what's my next step? And then I can choose, any one of these actions. And so I might create an Asana task, or send an email, or whatever, create a conditional branch. So HubSpot's more powerful, more user-friendly. Everything you can do in HubSpot, everything I've done inside of HubSpot, I could have done inside of HighLevel. It would have been a lot harder, and it wouldn't be nearly as clean, and it would be more difficult for another person to look at and say, like, oh yeah, I know what you did here, Kasim, let me help fix this. Let's blur out this workflow ID too. So if you're going to use HighLevel, you're going to have to assume more responsibility for yourself and what you're doing. With that said, HighLevel gives you way more stuff than HubSpot gives you. And I mean way more stuff than HubSpot gives you. Funnels and websites. You can build full-on websites here. They have a whole portfolio of websites that you can draw from. So there's a template library. Here's an attorney site, auto dealers, chiropractors, etc. They've got a funnel builder that's also has a template library. I mean, it's not as robust as like a ClickFunnels per se, but it's damn close. You can do everything that you can do in ClickFunnels. You just got to get creative. Contact database, reputation management. They have an online scheduler that replaces like a Calendly. The reporting dashboard is actually really good. They've done a phenomenal job with attribution tracking. And I own a Google Ads agency. If this is the first video you're watching and you don't know, that's what I do. We drive paid traffic, and attribution is one of the hardest things to figure out. They've actually done a really good job. So pretty impressed with the reporting. Reporting is where most applications like this come up light. As a matter of fact, an indictment of HubSpot, their reporting is not very good. The dashboard is prettier and the reporting looks cleaner, but HubSpot's attribution, specifically when it comes to paid advertising, is inadequate at best. I won't use it to report on anymore because it just feels like session IDs are dropped and things like that. The campaign builder is really cool. So you can build these, long form nurture sequences, and there's some functionality here that I haven't seen elsewhere. It can alert you to new leads through outbound calls. You can do slide dial voicemail drops, which is kind of nifty. There's a mild task management solution you can push over to Facebook Messenger. The task manager is not anything to write home about, by the way. I wouldn't rely on this for my task management, but it's nice, kind of as a supplement if you're only using it for your sales team, let's say. Bulk requests allow you to execute on, like an email broadcast or newsletter happens inside of bulk requests. This is a little idiosyncratic. You have to create the campaign first and then drop everybody into that campaign according to who you want to receive the email. Trigger links are pretty cool. I've seen that in a few other solutions, but I think it's done very well here. So you can create a link that executes automation. Their form builder is super robust. I'm actually really impressed with this. I'd say it's as good as HubSpot's form builder. And it's really easy to use. It's drag and drop. It's everything that you'd want in a form builder, including custom fields and standard options. You can roll over to a new thank you page, remove agency branding, those types of things. Where's that? Bam. The survey builder's kind of nifty. It's a little finicky in some places. You'll have to, play with it, but it has this conditional logic. Like if somebody fills out this slide this way, then send them to subsequent slides. Email template builder is absolute crap. It's just garbage. I anticipate it getting a little bit better, but it's like, Constant Contact circa 2012. It's just really bad. I like plain text emails anyway. I think that they engage better. So I use plain text emails. I don't even use the email builder. But it's not anything you're going to be impressed with. You can see it here. It's just, embarrassingly bad. But their web builder is actually really good, which is funny. I wonder why they didn't use the same web builder logic for the email builder. They have an opportunity pipeline, and you can have multiple opportunities if you want to, which is super cool. And drag and drop, one loss reporting, detailed analysis. I use HubSpot for my Montessori agency. I use HighLevel for my actual agency, my traditional agency. We use them not just for our clients, but also internally. So this is the CRM that I'm in every single day. All of our opportunities are tracked here. All of our contacts are tracked here. You can track customer conversations, which is really cool. So all emails and text messages you've received. And then they've got a really awesome reporting dashboard that I've been really impressed by, specifically the pipeline value section. This is a test implementation, so I don't have anything hooked up, but the data that pipes in is really cool. Unlimited users, which is awesome. But then they've got some stuff that's just annoying. Like look at this settings menu. I'll give you an example. Like they have this thing to where when you've added a client to your CRM, they send out this automatic request for reviews, and you have to know to turn that off. And you can customize the communication, but you've got this overloaded settings menu, and instantly I've got 3 of these items that are dedicated to this kind of obscure functionality that I would never use. I don't know why that's such a core focus for them. There's actually 4 menu items because there's the review widget. So I mean, it's cool that they have it. I just wouldn't. I don't know why it's such a primary focus. Appointment widget is actually really cool. We use it for our own scheduling. You can create multiple pipelines here, and you can see how easy that is to do too. Here are all the pipeline steps. If I wanted to add a stage, I could add a stage. I could remove stages if I want to remove them. The integrations is pretty friendly given what they allow. And what I mean by that is it's easy to integrate with solutions that they have integration capabilities with, but you can see here that that's pretty limited. Phone numbers through Twilio, calendar integration through Google. What is templates? Oh, message templates. You can create prepackaged message templates just like you can HubSpot. Custom fields, Facebook form mapping, custom values, adding domains. So that's really cool too, is you can configure custom domains and you can have as many as you want, which is very generous to my mind, because that's where a lot of website builders limit the implementation here. So think about this for just a minute. If you're a web builder and you're building websites for clients and you're using like a Squarespace or a Duda, we use Duda for our clients, you have to pay for every individual implementation. For HighLevel, you can have unlimited websites with domains applied, and you're paying that $300 a month. It's unreal. Tag management, and then the SMTP mailgun services. So I've spent way more time in HighLevel, and I guess that's because this is the one that I recommend for agencies. I am an affiliate, so if you're going to buy this, please click my link. There's no reason not to. You're going to pay the same amount of money, and if I've helped you, then you can reward me for doing so. We're also HubSpot partners. I actually don't want to work with you as a HubSpot partner because they make me do too much work, and I don't want to be responsible for your implementation. And so if you want to buy through HubSpot, just go contact HubSpot, and that's perfectly fine. Again, if you're an agency and you're just trying to find something to use yourself and you want it to be easy, hands-off, it's the whole Apple model that just works. Go with HubSpot. It's a great tool. I'm a big fan. But you spend a couple grand a month when all is said and done, after all your users and contacts are loaded up. So if you're trying to build a business around a new solution, then HighLevel's unbelievable. It reminds me of, there was this old school solution. They were based out of Seattle. They were called, I think, Optify. And they had a very similar model here where they had a ton of implementations for a really low dollar amount. They ended up going under, which is catastrophic because I had 20 some odd clients on them at the time. But it was a really cool solution, and I haven't seen anything that I liked as much as that until now. So I've had a conversation with the HighLevel people about their financial solvency. They're completely grassroots. They haven't taken any funding or investments, which always makes me feel really good because it means that they can actually afford what's going on, and they're growing at just this insanely epic rate. So I think that you can be as safe as you can be with any startup there. I prefer HighLevel to SharpString by a mile. I don't like SharpSpring at all, to be honest with you. I think that their IP address tracking is really cool, and that's about it. Other than that whole solution feels just sewn together. Definitely prefer to Acton or Acton, whatever it's called. I hate Acton with the passion of 1,000 fires. We used them for about 2 years, and the solution on the outside feels really well constructed. It's a little antiquated just in terms of the GUI, but we had so many problems with them. Email deliverability problems. We had Google blacklisted their entire server base, so all the landing pages that we had on Acton couldn't be delivered in our paid advertising. We were running paid ads for, I don't remember how many clients, but we had them all on Acton, and here you can't receive emails from Acton, you can't see landing pages from Acton. It's like, well, what is your software good for? Because that's what I'm paying you to do, is build landing pages and send emails. So never use Acton. Their support team was also as unapologetic as I've ever seen people. I was on the phone with, I think it was an executive VP, and I was constructively criticizing the fact that their emails landed in my spam box. I couldn't get my customers' email deliverability up, and that was no surprise because Acton was overly aggressive with their send outs. And he was so flippant in his response. He said something like, well, we've just chosen to be more aggressive than some people might be comfortable with. And I'm like, well, you're an email deliverability provider. You need to be a little more careful there. So there's some baggage for you. Not that you asked, but yeah, hopefully this is a good overview. I'm a big fan of both tools. But I think as an agency, I think that heading in the HighLevel direction is going to give you way more scalability, and there's more financial upside for you as well. So I'll include my affiliate link in the description of this video if you want to be friendly and click on that when you sign up. I'd appreciate it. If you have any ideas or thoughts or questions, feel free to hit me in the comments. I normally shoot videos just about Google Ads, but we've had some questions about what CRM you use, what marketing automation solution you use, and so I thought I'd answer that and try to pimp out some software that I like at the same time. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video.